Great question here. I just did a video about the super critical deadline that a lot of workers in the UK don't know about, which is the 3 months minus 1 day deadline from a bad thing happening at work to starting ACAS early conciliation. And the question here is, well, what if there were multiple things? When do I start the clock and stop the clock? So the answer depends on the type of potential claim you might have in tribunal. So take unpaid wages, for example. Let's say that your employer didn't pay you a week's worth of wages and you missed the 3 month deadline, but then they did it again, let's say 6 months later. In that case, you probably are out of luck for the first one to count as a potential tribunal claim, but you could use the second one, which means that, let's say both times you were out £1,000, you could probably only ask the tribunal to hear or do anything about the second £1,000 and not the first £1,000. However, this does change if, for example, you are doing a discrimination claim. So let's say that something bad happened a year ago and then it kind of rumbled along and bad things kind of kept happening in the same way. So maybe it's a pregnancy issue and there was an ongoing issue from the moment that the person said that they were pregnant all the way through the entire pregnancy, for example. The 3 month deadline will have disappeared, but if there is a event that is within time, within the 3 months minus 1 day, you can argue that it was an ongoing act of discrimination and use that in time part to almost chain the rest of them in so that you can pull those into an overall argument to make to the tribunal about an ongoing act of discrimination. And this is why when you get to the ACAS early conciliation stage, it's so important to start trying to label what has happened to you with a legal claim, and why we have built a free claim building labeler inside the Vala platform to try and help people kind of identify, well, what claim could this be? Because it's so critical to understanding how it impacts on things like these deadlines. And if you do want to dive into this in more detail, we have a webinar on the Vala website. I believe it costs about £17, and it's all about how to get your out of time claims heard. And it will go through specifically a few different options for a few different types of claims and show when the tribunal will allow that claim to be heard, even if it's outside that 3 month window, and when they won't. I hope that helps.